Folks, good morning. I hope everybody is doing well. We are just a minute early. In traditional fashion, I'm just going to give it another minute or so before we actually get started. Make sure everyone gets. How's that? Is that any better? Is that any better? Can you guys hear me okay? Good deal. Well, we are right on time. It is right at 10 o'clock, and unfortunately, we also have another hard stop at 11. So I want to go ahead and get started. If we get through a little bit early, that would even be ideal. I am actually on the road traveling in East Tennessee today. The Enabling Tech Group and we were able to go to Greene County schools and present on maps, as well as provide some virtual reality experiences to some of the transition age students on this side of the state. So with that being said, I'm a little bit remote, and Jeremy's actually going to drive our PowerPoint presentation this morning. If you would go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint, Jeremy, we'll go ahead and just dive right in. We are scheduled for a complete hour. The agenda was sent off. I want to go ahead and give Sandra the ability to introduce some of her new teammates that have joined since the last time we had gotten together, just so that as you guys are seeing new names pop into some of our meetings, you guys are familiar with who they are. I've got a few updates that we'll provide in terms of enrollment, current statuses, where we are with those folks that are waiting, continuing to keep our eye on the prize of progressing to West Tennessee. And then I want to get into some actual discussion of VCRM billables. And I want to view that in conjunction with milestones, budget, and essentially ensuring that we are referring back to the needed tools that are going to help us prepare. As I think we're close. I think we've got a few providers that have made some tremendous progress on the implementation of those virtual community resource maps. And I do anticipate here shortly, we'll start seeing some of those requests to be considered for validation for those virtual community resources maps. Once that is done, I'll turn it over to Sandra so she can provide an update on some of the developments through their processes for submitting referrals, planning development, and essentially any other updates that she has. We'll wrap up with the question and answers at the very end if we've got some time. I am excited to announce that recruitment is currently underway for 2 MAPS regional supports positions. We're going to start with our middle region and our east region. We've actually completed the first round of applicant reviews this week, and I look to begin interviews for those positions beginning next week and the following. Ideally, we'll be able to identify those positions beginning towards, middle of May, possibly. What this means is we're adding more supports, and we're excited that DIDD is going to be able to continue to provide alternative resources and supports to our providers and our network so that we can continue to push this program forward. So with that being said, Jeremy, will you go ahead and go to the next slide, please? Again, this is just our agenda, what I just briefly touched upon here just a second ago. Next slide, please. Here's a status of where we are in terms of enrollment. You'll see that we're breaking up the enrollments according to region now. As of the 29th, just a couple of days ago, we had successfully enrolled 56 individuals within the middle region, and we have enrolled 4 persons within the east region. I've had a couple of providers reach out inquiring about the status of referrals for services in the east region, and this is just to provide a little bit of overview on what's happening in that capacity. We've only admitted 4. We do anticipate we've got another 9 or 10 or so that are in our queue to enroll in the East region that we'll probably get to within the month of April. But I want you guys to remember that just because we enroll the individuals into the program, our partnership with Charles Lee, they begin the service process by reaching out to the families, conducting an initial assessment, and essentially preparing that referral snapshot tool that is ultimately sent to the providers for your referral. So if you've not received a referral yet in the East region, you're perfectly fine. Sandra and her team, they're working through that assessment and development of that referral snapshot process so that once those are fully prepared and ready, and the families in essence have actually selected the providers that they are interested in working with, at that point you will actually formally be getting those referrals. I imagine that we can anticipate some of those referrals going out probably at the earliest late April. And once we get through some of those assessments, Sandra's conducting her team, Sandra's training her team, and she's actually providing some updates for the new staff. So I'm sorry, Sandra, I kind of went right over that. Let me go ahead and turn it over to you so you can go ahead and introduce your staff that have joined us since we've last met. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. And as Jay has said, we have grown and we are continuing to grow to build out our IC team in East Tennessee. And since our last meeting, I don't know if everybody had an opportunity to meet everybody who represents Middle Tennessee currently. And just want to go through, I know we have team members out because as we're doing assessments and I'm going to share just some of the things that we're getting updated on our end. That's why some of our team members are out doing some case file transfers. But who's present today? I see John McLallen. He's one of our Middle Tennessee ICs. I see CK. Thank you guys for having your cameras on so I can see you. I see CK. I'm also servicing in Middle Tennessee. I'm not really sure. I know Charles is not going to be with us this morning. He's servicing Middle Tennessee. Libby, she is now. You guys may have worked with her in Middle Tennessee, servicing as a innovation coordinator. Super pleased to announce for those who do not know, she has been promoted now, servicing as our regional and leading our IC team. So she is out with Charles because, like I said, we're doing some transfers and getting her caseload shifted to now be aligned with coordinators who are more in those regions, not regions, but in those counties where some of her people are located at. We also have Jessica Jones. I don't see her on, but Jessica, please say some of your own so I know that you're here. Perfect. Ms. Jessica Jones, she's also servicing Middle Tennessee. And we have Kayla Sharp, and I know she's out today. She's our first innovation coordinator who will be servicing in East Tennessee, based in that Northeast region. She's super pumped, excited to get going. She is currently doing training. So by mid-April, late April, she'll be ready to take on her first referral. So super excited about that and continue to build out our team. I will add in the chat box just a little image of everybody's contact information and then turn it back over to you, Jay.
Thank you. It's exciting. I mean, every time we get into one of these sessions, it feels like we're describing more members that are becoming a part of our team. And certainly I'm feeling that on the DIDD side, expanding our regional supports. And every time we discuss with Sandra the continued growth of our innovation coordination support partnerships, it's always cool to hear that we're continuing to grow on that end as well. To culminate our current enrollment status, as of the 29th, we had formally enrolled 60 persons. Jeremy, if you'll go to the next slide, please. This slide will give you an idea of what we're sitting on in terms of where our applicants are. And so from a breakdown capacity, we have determined based on where those candidates are in their enrollment process, whether they've been formally referred to the Innovation Coordination Agency, if they've actually been enrolled, or if they are in queue to enroll. Essentially, that in queue to enroll is sort of our way of progressing through the application review process to determine if all criteria has been met as from the application standpoint, and we are either waiting for provider capacity or geographic regional breakout for those folks to continue to enroll. So you'll see within the East region, we've got 9 folks that are in queue to enroll, and I would envision that we'll start knocking some of those down through the month of April as Sandra continues to build out her team, and some of our providers within that region are continuously getting prepared. We are tracking our ineligible status as well, and then we're also tracking the West Tennessee applicants that we are sitting on that are essentially on hold for regional holdout. You'll see we've got 10 folks currently that are awaiting services for when we can expand our services into West Tennessee. The PCSP planning in process, that just gives us an idea on where those folks are in their process of getting formally referred to the provider organization and actually getting that plan into effect. So this gives you a snapshot of where we are. We're continuously putting a high priority on marketing the program. As indicated earlier, we're here in East Tennessee trying to promote. Last week we were down in Pulaski doing a transition fair, and we're going to continue to spread those words. I'm really excited about some upcoming videos that we're going to be using for our marketing strategies. Our partnership with Miller Rich had identified a sibling set that have made it a goal of theirs to pursue secondary education through potentially Austin Peay, and they actually conducted a college visit a few weeks ago. We're actually finalizing some video marketing material that should be coming online pretty soon so that we can continue to put actual success stories and faces and names with the actual implementation of services, in hopes that will continue to spark some interest in the community and continue to lift up some of this applicant status summary. So just wanted to keep you guys updated on where we are. Please go to the next slide, Jeremy. The next one is one you guys necessarily haven't seen before, but I'm excited that it's going to be a way for us to track as an organization and as a program where we are with milestone completion. As you'll see, the very first billable service that is available is that provider development incentive. And I'm proud to report that we've essentially approved 29 of those provider development incentives. That means that the providers have gone through the process of formally submitting the invoice and the provider development incentive validation tool to Charles Lee. Charles Lee has in essence signed off on that, and we have 29 persons of those that are enrolled actively receiving some of those supports. As you can imagine, as we continue to build this success out, we'll be able to take on a region by region, year by year basis, how many of those milestones that we're able to complete for those folks that we're actually providing services for. So I can't wait for another 3 to 6 months when we can start seeing some of those virtual community resource mapping milestones being validated, and we can start showing some of the successes of actually tracking how many virtual maps we have that have in essence been validated and are actively being utilized in the community. So I would envision that this will be one thing that we continue to just give you guys a brief view on how we're performing as an actual program unit. Next slide, please. West Tennessee, we're eyeing you. We're not too terribly far. We're continuing to work with our partnership at Charles Lee to prepare for services to begin on or before July of 2023. Our projection is to begin on the 1st, but I wouldn't be surprised if we maintain our efficiency and we can move that up just a little bit quicker. I think it's important that we go ahead and continue to recognize that we're still learning and growing and preparing for that. So while our target is July 1st, we're always keeping in the back of our mind that if we can get there sooner, we certainly will. Now, we are projecting, according to our enrollment plan, to enroll some pretty heavy numbers initially. Obviously, those are all dependent upon the applicants that we receive, but we hope to have the capacity within our partnerships to go ahead and support a pretty heavy load on that front end to get our West Tennessee region in line with what we've been able to enroll within the Middle and our East regions. Obviously, we'll continue to keep our thumb on this. These are all projections and ideals that we want to use to plan and prepare for, but obviously there's a number of factors that could potentially impact our ability to achieve those numbers. So wanted to continue to keep this on our radar as July 1st for West Tennessee. Next slide, please. I want to introduce you guys to a process that is being finalized at this stage as well. One of the things I was really proud of in our provider provider-led lunch and learns is the feedback that we're learning. And everything that we're discovering through implementation has been just so very helpful to ensure that we're prioritizing our attention in the areas that it needs, but also developing those resources and partnerships that are going to continue to ensure that the program's success moving into the future. I think that there may be even a better way to capture some of those recommendations, not just from our provider network, but also from the entire stakeholder group, innovation coordinators, essentially anyone who touches, feels, or has an interest in the implementation of the MAPS program. I want to make sure that we're being transparent with the processes to provide feedback to the actual program. So in-house, we've developed a SharePoint form that we will be posting on our website that will allow the anonymous submission of feedback regarding our processes that we're currently implementing. It's hoped through this process that it will allow for various outcomes. One, it will allow us for better cooperation and organization of that feedback as we receive that. If we have a central database to where recommendations are being received and we're including those in a summary synopsis back to the stakeholders, we can ensure that we are properly organizing all of the feedback and categorizing that feedback based on exactly what they're communicating. And so through that, it'll allow us as a department to go ahead and provide summaries back to the actual MAPS group. This is what we've received in the capacity, and this is our plan of correction, or at least our plan to address that feedback. And so in keeping in spirit with the entire projection of full transparency and open communication, this is sort of that next variation to include within that. I'm going to go ahead and take over sharing the screen just for a second, Jeremy, so that you can see this. I may not be able to. I'm actually on another device at this point. This website, actually, this link right here will allow, when I actually send out the PowerPoint, you'll see the link in the PowerPoint that will allow you to go to the actual feedback and report form itself. I'm sorry, I'm on a different device today and I need to update my settings so that I can actually get to it. Here it is. We're actually updating some of the terminology to make sure that it is person-centered, that it's plain language, but essentially it will allow folks to go to our website and input feedback on an anonymous basis that we can actually categorize. And so what you're seeing here is it should look similar because it follows the same structure as the enrollment to the travel training. But ideally, folks can continue to go to our website and access material on our website, as well as provide feedback to the actual department of what you guys are experiencing on your end, so that we can continue to categorize it and summarize what sort of feedback we're getting. So I would encourage you to give us a little bit more time. I want to make sure that the feedback, or actually the exact language that we're using in this approach, is going to be accepted from all of our partnerships, and will allow for actual MAPS participants to feel comfortable to go ahead and provide feedback to us on the services that they're actually receiving. So we'll work with our partnerships at the Tennessee Council to ensure that all of the feedback and the actual terminology is where we want it. But I wanted to give you guys that introductory heads up that this is the next variation of open transparency for how we're collecting feedback on the implementation of our MAPS programming. Key point is website contains all of the actual information. This will be housed in our website as well, so you'll be able to go on there and particularly provide the feedback itself. Getting back into the PowerPoint, I do want to go ahead and bring up a couple of slides that we have used and we've looked at historically. And so what we're discovering now is, we have always recognized the first component of the MAPS program would be that virtual community resource map. And as we're working with our partnerships at Charles Lee and those individuals, it's important that we all have a good grasp on the actual milestone verbiage and the services that directly correspond with that milestone verbiage, so that we're all working in conjunction with one another on the actual goals themselves, and so that we're not just frivolously working on various components of parts of milestones along the way. I think Sandra may speak a little bit more to their process on how they're making this more streamlined from the actual collaborative planning meeting to the actual creation of the VCRM here in a little bit. But I thought this would be a good opportunity to recognize that these are the actual milestones themselves. So when you see home and safety, personal hygiene, health management, those are the actual labels of the milestones themselves. And we anticipate that as the plans are developed and revised, and the folks that we're supporting, that they select the milestones that they're working on, that we use this exact language to draw the lines between the actual plan and the actual validation form and the services that you're providing to show that these are in essence the goals that we're working on. You'll see the actual services themselves. I can't stress the importance enough of make sure you guys are familiar with the actual service definitions on our website. Those service definitions are what has defined what we're looking for towards independence in these actual milestones. The website is going to contain the most updated service definitions. So if at any time somebody has a question about what are we looking for milestone independence in the community relationship milestone, the first point of contact should be that community navigator service definition. While that should provide that description of this is what we've intended as independence to look like in this milestone. Now, we know that there's the continued validation process that we'll continue to work towards and make sure that those tools that are used for that are transparent and available. But we're at the stage now where folks are implementing the virtual community resource map, and we're starting to bleed over into some of these other milestones. I want to make sure you guys, are getting credit for the work that you're doing towards those milestones, but it's important that as we're working on milestones, that those milestones are formally labeled within the actual plan itself, so that we actually know on a moment's basis the milestones that we're working on over the course of year 1, year 2, and year 3. So, because remember, these milestones are only good on a single occurrence basis, with the exception of the career development milestone that's available in the work milestone. That is a milestone that can be used and available in all 3 years of the program. But home and safety is only a payable milestone during one time of the actual MAPS program. So we want to make sure that as you guys are working on these goals, that they are directly correlated within the actual plan itself, so that when we do receive those validation tools and the innovation coordinator has in fact confirmed the fidelity of the completion of the milestone, that there is that seamless line, that the milestone was identified by the person, recognized in the actual collaborative planning, the planning tool. You as a provider worked on that actual goal, and once you've completed independent and the ICs have confirmed validation, that we've got that direct line all the way through. So I keep this actual slide on my desktop at all times. I wouldn't be surprised if, as we grow some more resources here at the department, that one-pagers of these actual milestones become available that you guys can access directly from our site. And we'll continue to figure out ways where this information is more readily available for you, not having to go and dig into some of those service definitions to pull out the specific milestones. While that is available and helpful, I still think there may be some ways where we can make some of this a little bit more accessible. But for now, make sure you are recognizing this exact language, that those are this is the exact verbiage for recognition of those particular milestones. Next slide, please. This one has been reviewed, but it's been a while as well. And so it's important that as we discuss the previous slide, that we are also recognizing the slide in conjunction with what is available and what is anticipated over the course of that person's year's services and programming. So this gives you that visual that during the first year, the services that are available to be billed or possible to be billed the first first is that referral incentive, which I showed you a minute ago. We've already paid out, or we're processing 29 of those. We have 29 persons that are in some capacity working on their VCRM development. But after that, there's the possibility to work on 3 milestones within the funding capacity over the first year of the program. You guys will recall that at the conclusion of the first year, there is also a completion bonus that is available to that person to bill for, that also reflects the number of milestones that were completed during that first year of servicing for that actual person. And if we bill all of that, the individual will in essence have used 100% of their $20,000 budget. So it's important just to keep these two slides, something that you refer back to, so that you can obviously always represent, these are the menu, this is the menu of milestones for the person to choose from. And then this is how we can organize those selections into year one. So yes, we may have folks that want to work on all 12 milestones. Let's go ahead and recognize and identify what 3 are of the highest priority during the first year. While you may work on more, there's only the capacity within their budget to accommodate 3 completed payments in addition to the actual completion bonus. Now you'll see as they progress into the second year of their programming, the individuals will have the access to work on 5 milestones. Third year, they can work on 4. And again, I want to highlight that you guys, I've received feedback on a few occasions that continue to reinforce the importance of ensuring that the person supported is buying in and invested into the long-term, the longevity of the actual program itself. Remember, we have built in that person-supported establishment incentive that is available at the conclusion of their third year if they complete 6 of the 11 available milestones over the course of the 3 years of the program. All of this is immediately available on the DIDD MAPS website page. Go to the information for providers section and you will see all of these resources. You will see definitions of what's intended with the completion bonus. You'll see what's intended with the person incentive establishment, what is each specific milestone. So those should be your first tools that you guys are referencing as you get through the program. So keep these 2 slides handy. I review them quite often, and anytime I do information sessions with upcoming providers, I believe it's important that we continue to highlight this is helpful for your organization as a provider to know what's possible to work on during the course of the actual programming. Hope that's helpful. As it pertains to the next discussion, the VCRM, and we can go to the next slide, please. We anticipate that the VCRM is pretty close to being able to be reviewed. And I've had some providers reach out already to suggest, what does validation for the VCRM look like? The first thing that I want to go ahead and communicate that we have been successful at scheduling that 4th advanced cohort training, and it is currently available for enrollment through Relias. Now, I'm still not a professional at Relias, so if for some reason you try to go on and you can't see it, let me know. There are some extra steps that I have to do when I upload these courses that if I don't do them, you won't see it. And so that's completely on me. If you can't see it, shoot me a message. Jay, I can't find cohort number 4. That tells me that I didn't do one little section that I need to push out the availability of this training to everyone in the entire network. Some of our providers have multiple logins and they provide services over different programs. And I've got to go into those providers, both of their actual profiles, and push out the actual class to your program in particular to make sure that you can view it. And so sometimes I just may miss a button or 2. So if you can't see it, holler at me. I'm happy to make sure that I go back and recheck some of those. The second thing is I want to go ahead and pull up the actual MAPS milestone tool that has actually been created by our partnership with Jen and Matt. So providers have asked, what does VCRM milestone validation look like? And this is the tool that I want to refer everyone to, because it's what's going to be used for you as a provider, as well. It's going to be what is used by Charles Lee to confirm that a virtual community resource map contains all of the information that we anticipate seeing within a virtual map. So right now, you'll see that the VCRM coordinator directions, it basically provides you with some tools that you can use to ensure you're following the actual virtual community resource mapping process in its entirety. The second one is using the MAPS transition planning tool. We are going to request and require that as a validation component of the VCRM, that transition planning tool has been completed along the way of implementing the VCRM as well. We would prefer that planning tool be uploaded and added to a layer for the person's virtual community resource map so that they can access that planning tool if and when they need to. You can scroll down a little bit, Jeremy, please. All of these numbers provide you with some of those recommendations and references to those tools that are used to complete the virtual community resource map. Essentially, those external tools, in conjunction of working directly with the person, helps you create the goal. And it will be our expectation that those tools are all completed as you guys are working through the map, and then also uploaded into the virtual community resource map section itself, so that we can validate on that end that not only is the map contain all of the necessary checkpoints that need to be sustained, but also that you guys have utilized the proper tools to get to that point. So the first 5 bullet points right here simply walks you guys through those tools that are needed and those that will be required. I've asked Jen to go into this tool, update it into Google Maps, and provide a little more clarity of the tools that will formally be required to be uploaded. And so you'll see, she's going to update it on Monday. What you'll see in the same link will be applicable. So when she updates this tool, the new link, or the link, will show the updates that she is adding. And it's basically just going to say, this tool needs to be uploaded. This tool needs to be uploaded. And there's, in essence, 3 tools that will need to be uploaded as also verification for completing the VCRM. So that's the first section. It's just describing those tools that are used to complete the VCRM. If you'll go down a little bit to the actual VCRM milestone checklist, this progress monitoring form, this is your checklist. Essentially, as you complete this, you will include the actual name of the person receiving services, the date, and you will confirm that there are layers within the virtual community resource map that has the building foundation of these domains: independent living, employment, continuing education, community inclusion. Now, obviously, we recognize that the completion of the VCRM it's never completed. It, in essence, is going to be that living and breathing tool. So what we are doing is organizing the tool itself so that we are preparing the person that's receiving the supports to be able to update this tool and address specific goals along the way and through the 3 years of programming towards these overall goals. So we do anticipate that when the VCRM tool when it's being validated, that we will look to ensure that domains are addressed in all 4 of these areas, that there are actual layers ready to house information and future goals in these 4 domains. Going down, please, you will see a checklist of 7 basic items that have to be included in all of the virtual community resource maps. So as you are preparing yourself to say, how do I know when I am done with the virtual map? All 7 of these will have to be confirmed. So I would encourage providers, make yourself familiar with these 7 checklist points. And as you are working with the person you're supporting and adding and and incorporating all of these 7 components, let this be your guide to say, these are the absolute basic criteria that needs to be included in every virtual community resource map. So if you're thinking about this from a validation standpoint, this is exactly what Charles Lee is going to be looking for. When you when you believe as a provider that you've reached milestone completion, you're going to send that validation tool to the innovation coordinator to say, I think we're done. Here is the tool that we've completed. Charles Lee will come behind you and also confirm that each of these 7 checklist items have been added to every virtual community resource map. Those are pretty straightforward, but certainly if there's any questions, feel free to let me know. The second part to this is what's probably going to create the most confusion, and it's right here. We've worked with this over Charles Lee for a little bit, and I don't know that we're completely sorted here, but I want to go ahead and provide the premise of the intention of what we're trying to capture here. We know that it is going to be ongoing utilization of the virtual community resource map. And the service definition of the virtual community resource map recognizes that it is anticipated that there will be future utilization and updating of the actual virtual community resource map. So it's our expectation that providers will leave the person-supported and/or their immediate network with the tools they need to update the plan as needed. So these skills, we anticipate that the provider will conduct a skills assessment on these 9 categories to determine where that person is in their ability to confirm these skills as the VCRM is needed to be updated. And you'll see the 3 prompts that are available: independent, verbal, or modeling. What you should expect is that as a provider, if you recognize that any of these skills need a verbal prompt or monitoring, that is our cue to ensure that there are resources or training that has been conducted to somebody other than the provider network that will help that person continue to practice these skills and or refer to specific resources that they can complete these skills with the overall goal of you fading out. I think this is where some of the provider innovation is really going to be able to take shape. I mean, I just, off the top of my head, think about multiple ways that we can equip persons to update their maps with videos or actual tools that we give them, or we can record them doing it and we can actually make that video accessible in their map to say, hey, when you want to create and name a layer, here is the recording of how we did it together. So I could see that as you are conducting this skill checklist, that you reach a point where the folks supported may need a verbal or modeling prompt, that you are preparing that next phase of ensuring that person has the tools that they need to complete that skill ongoing. And so that's what this section is intended. It's intended to recognize the first section is the map has to contain this basic. Now let's go ahead and assess the person for their ability to use the map as well as update the map. And if we recognize and identify there are areas where they're going to need support to conduct these skills, that's where the innovation should come in and how we're preparing to leave that person with the ability to update their map according to these skills. So these are the tools that's going to be used during our first ideation and implementation of the virtual community resource map validation. Is it perfect? I don't know. I mean, I think we're going to learn along the way. I think what we have is partnerships that recognize that we will learn along the way, and there may be the ability to streamline, revise, build upon. And so we're really going to need the help from the provider network to continue to analyze what we've created and developed so far in hopes of achieving our desired result of 1, the folks having a map, and 2, the folks being able to update their map so that at the conclusion of the MAPS program, they can continue to use the VCRM. Okay, I know that is a tremendous amount of information. The rest of this document, Jeremy, you can just scroll through it. It provides those other tools that can be used in conjunction with completing the map. So in essence, it's just a VCRM packet. It describes the tools, we use the checklist, and then these are additional tools that are available for your completion of the virtual community resource map, recognizing that those tools that are required to be submitted for validation will be indicated on page 1 of this actual VCRM packet. Can I get a thumbs up or a thumbs down if that was helpful at all? Okay, thank you, John. I appreciate you. I'm sure that we're going to run into some questions regarding specific implementation as you guys are implementing this, and I encourage those conversations. I mean, I'm really proud and thankful for Sandra and her team to work with us through this, and so they're reporting back to us those questions that you guys are having, and so we'll continue to work collaboratively if we identify some of those potential needs that we have. That is my last update for the VCRM. I do see we have a question that popped up, John. I'm going to go ahead and answer your question, and then Sandra, I'll turn it over to you.
It's not a question, it's a statement, Jay, the last two slides about the VCRM, and I have been working on that VCRM and handed it in and all that, and I'm really proud of it. But golly, after reading all of that, yeah, I learned so much more just on those slides than I did in the class. And that's because I had the class as a bedrock. But the slides really explained it very well to me.
Well, you know, that's encouraging to hear, and we recognize that we're approaching a year 2 of our contract with Jen and Matt and their training, and we're actually taking a different approach to our training during year 2. That basic course is going to be offered and available on a more flexible basis, and it's going to include some traditional online testing metrics that we may be used to with that of Relias. So I would hope that as we progress into year 2 and we experience, you know, this conversion from in-class training to the online version, we're going to lose something, I mean, in exchange for the flexibility. So I'm hoping that whatever we lose in that transition, we can communicate and identify ways to try to capture it as it very well could be helpful here. It sounds like adding those visuals into that basic online training may very well be helpful into year 2, and that very well may be in the works. So I appreciate that feedback. Okay, that was the last thing I had on the VCRM. Sandra, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. This is your time to go ahead and provide the updates as you see fit.
All righty. Thank you so much, Jay. And team, what I've done, just put a few pointers on this slide, just so you guys can, I can go through them and bring some updates to you in regards to where we are with Charles Lee Center. I've mentioned when I did the introduction that Libby, she has taken on our regional manager role. Super excited about that. But what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
She is now transitioning her cases. Those individuals that she met initially, has worked with, done collaborative roundtables with, we are reassigning those individuals and getting them to their ICs where they're going to be closely located to them now. So you will be notified. You'll get an email from your new IC. And I'm speaking directly to providers, letting you know that you're going to get an email from your IC, so you'll know who that new IC is, you know how to make contact with them. And then also parents persons and parents will be notified with an email also. So we're definitely trying to roll this out as seamless as possible. Libby has been working very closely with each IC, each team member, you know, bringing everybody up to speed with that particular referral, letting them know what collaborative has been taking place, you know, introducing them IC to the plan, you know, just letting everybody know individually who they're getting on their cases now. And so they, you know, again, each IC is informed and are looking for those updates from you all at this point. So just be on the lookout. No later than Wednesday next week, you'll get an email from your new IC, just letting you know who that person is and how you follow up with those monthly check-ins from those individuals you already had a collaborative with. Another thing that we have revised as a part of our protocol and just a part of our process now, again, listening to our amazing providers, you know, learning from you guys what worked better and what really could help streamline our process. The next update is the internal assessments. Originally, you guys made a decision on accepting or denying referral you've met the individual after you accept or denied. So definitely listen, heard, and value the feedback that we've received. So now, once you receive a referral from Charles Lee Center, we are highly encouraged in making that contact, through phone call, email. I know there's welcome letters that's going out from some providers. However you see fit to make that internal assessment, please do so. Do your internal assessment. Take a deeper dive on those goals to learn and figure out, where does MAP services really align. But again, just really partnering with us in that aspect of it is going to be tremendous at this point, where you guys can do the internal assessment before you accept or deny. That's that update that's been provided. Also, you guys who have already experienced your collaborative roundtable, that is that meeting where everybody comes together. Again, I'm sure you guys, we've all talked and we've met at some point talking about what the collaborative look like, but that is where that person-centered support plan comes together in that particular phase. And so if you've already experienced that with an IC and with your referral of the person that you're servicing, you've already probably got the notification. You shouldn't be probably, you definitely should got a notification from your IC indicating originally that form, that check-in is due every 10th of the month. That has been revised, okay? So every monthly check-in, you'll be sending to your IC on the 20th of every month. Definitely want it to just be more aligned with DIDD and some of the other programming that has already been established. So just wanted to make sure I said it verbally in this space so everybody knows it. But again, you'll get that notification whenever you have a collaborative roundtable, any interaction with your IC, you typically get a follow-up email, so you know what that next step is. So just you'll be aware, and we just wanted to make sure I wanted to make sure I communicated so you'll know moving forward that progression check-in is due on the 20th. I'm gonna spend a little time on the next talking point just so I can try to be as clear as possible. But something that we're looking forward to doing for those individuals who've had a collaborative roundtable at this point, we have a few, I think between 5 to 15 individuals that we have those developed plans. Now we're looking at within 30 and 60 days of getting service revision from you all, we're looking at revising some of those plans at this point. We've heard some of our providers, knowing that you guys are now looking at additional goals. Some of our persons started out initially with the VCRM and you're now taking on another milestone. The plan and goal behind this is to really come together again and really nail down what are those individual goals that you're working on specifically now that you had a chance to meet them, work with them, get to know them a little better, and then clearly define the milestones. Again, Jay, he talked about it through his presentation, and I just have to reiterate the importance of it. Again, we do the assessment, that broad assessment initially. That's what Charles Lee Center is doing a lot of empowerment, teaching, educating, learning about that individual's goals. Some are broad, through those phone calls and interactions we're having with person and parents, we're learning and we're figuring out, okay, this is going to align very well with this particular milestone. So throughout those encounters and interactions our IC team is having with our persons and family, we're really attempting to streamline how does that goal align to a MAP service, okay? We know when we rolled out, we were all still, training, building the different protocols and how we're going to do it. So some of our initial plans, they're exactly what they were designed to be. They're initial, and some of those goals are really broad. So within the month of April, we're gonna roll out now, really looking at those initial plans, seeing who have clear goals identified, and if they have been aligned. Have they been aligned with milestones? Because if they have not been aligned with milestones, we want to use this opportunity now to come back to the table, come back and look at it and update that plan, provide that revision. Jason, is there a question?
No, I was just about to clap for you. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was a clap. I'm sorry. I thought I seen a hand. But yes, we're at a point where we're going to using the month of April to provide those revisions, and then also incorporate our enabling technology communication out to our techs, bringing those individuals into the fold now and having those initial meetings. So you can look for information coming through email. Your IC is going to be reaching out to you in April for those we've identified that need that plan revised and updated. And again, just asking for your patience and your continued partnership, because again, this is that I find it to be I'm just truly excited at this point to know that, you know, our providers that you guys have an opportunity to not only work with the individual and learn more about them, but now we can just really drill in a little more and put a more cohesive plan together to really streamline how does that go align with those MAP services. So again, your partnership with this, strong communication with our IC team as we roll this out is going to be golden. So that is something we're looking to take on in April with you all. So last thing I want to talk about is the Service Milestone Support Guide. I was being really ambitious and very hopeful I would be able to share a tool with you guys in this particular meeting, but had a lot of internal conversations with our South Carolina office and getting a lot of feedback on a framework that does not lock you in as a provider with offering those services. Again, the goal behind a support tool for you all to assess is not to create a sense of, man, we have to do it line for line. That's not what's being drafted or created. It's more so going to be an assessment tool, very similar to what Jay presented for the VCRM, a guide where you can feel confident once we have provided the action steps and we've worked and supported our person through these actions that we've agreed upon in our collaborative plan. This is the progression that we've noticed in this month, and this is the outcome that we can truly indicate has been accomplished. And as for now, what I would strongly put out there and just continue to reiterate is what Jason is saying as well. Being very knowledgeable of those service definitions, you're going to see a lot of that information translated into this tool that I've already drafted. So that, again, it's just more going to be more so providing you that framework, not to tell a provider how to complete those services, but more so giving you that ability to be able to gauge and be able to assess, can this person truly demonstrate what the service milestone is asking in the definition? That's pretty much what is being drafted, and very very hopeful to be able to have this tool assessment tool completed and ready within the second week of April. Just have a few more things to go over. Definitely want to share it with Jay and the DIDD team before we release it to everybody, but feeling really good about it. But definitely want to let you guys know you have been heard. We do not want any provider in this holding space with the work that you're doing and you're feeling like, man, we're tagging, we're trucking along and we're making this progress, but we're not 100% sure yet. Just know we hear you, and that tool is definitely in draft format to be able to get rolled out to you guys. So I don't want to hold too much time because I definitely leave room for questions as well. These were the only updates I wanted to share on our side. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and open up for any questions or anything that you need me to answer.
Thank you, Sandra. Yeah,
Sure.
I'm encouraged to continue to see all of the organization and the clarification as well. I'm excited to see that you guys got to the point where those monthly check-ins are coinciding with some of the providers' other services as well. That 20th is pretty standard across some of the other services. So putting that in line just made sense to me too. We've got about 10 minutes left. I'm happy the only other thing on the PowerPoint was essentially notifications of future information sessions and provider-led lunch and learn. I went ahead and bookmarked the next information sessions, July, August, and September. So in traditional fashion, this meeting has been recorded. Once we get it downloaded, uploaded into the YouTubes, I will share that YouTube's link with the PowerPoint that also provides you guys with the notice of when those information sessions have been scheduled. Our next provider-led lunch and learn will be in May, and I'm really excited that Buffalo Rivers and Progress are going to be able to provide their experiences for the services that they've provided during this first 6 months. Gosh, it's crazy to think that in May we will have been providing services for a half a year. So really excited to see what they're able to communicate to the rest of the network at that point. And I'm really looking forward to those sessions becoming more collaborative and highlights and showcases of some of the innovative approaches that our providers are taking to achieve some of those milestones. I think if we can use the 360 feedback loop to address those areas that we need to continue to work on, that can be its own function where I pull that data and communicate that via here, and those provider-led lunch and learns can really be those information, innovation, highlights of the systems and products that you guys are excelling at to help achieve those milestones. I think that collaboration will just resonate with the entire network. I don't see any questions via chat. So, if there's nothing to be said, I'm going to go ahead and cancel the meeting, or not, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting, give everyone else back there Friday. We'll get off to our 11 a.m., our next meet ourselves. And you guys know how to reach me. If there's anything we can do, holler at us. You guys are appreciated and very well. Thank you. Guys, we'll see you later.